There he is. 90% of fans were correct because we kind of gave it away over the last month or so. Trevor May, a new FT host. Welcome to the fam, man. Great to have you.
It's good to be here. This happened on stream yesterday too, and I tried to play it off, but it didn't go well. They got me. I couldn't remember. I'm like, has this been announced or not? I was like, oh well, I guess they know now. So that's probably on me too. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We put it out there on socials and we were like, who's the new FT host? And you just had a ton of replies. Trevor May, Trevor May, Trevor May. There were actually a few other candidates.
Some good ones.
Boris, JD Davis, Blake Snell, Papelbon, a few other like random people that have either been on the show frequently or don't have jobs.
Yeah.
They're DFA'd.
Yeah. Scott Boris would be fun, I think. I bet he's got stories. Yeah.
And hey, he's been on multiple times. All right. So, Trevor, first off, before we dive into anything, in all seriousness, awesome to have you on board. You are the first pitcher on the FT roster. We have catcher, infield, outfield taken. So we were waiting for you to retire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell us about the player perspective on how the game is marketed. What do we do well and what do we not do well? Because it's part of our mission statement to bring on multiple players a day. And obviously we're going to have Pitcher City. It's pitcher day. But to also just get the combos going as much like they would go in the clubhouse as possible when guys are talking about baseball.
Yeah, you hit one right there. Like endemic media, guys, Kratz knows, there's a lot of guys that would just rather learn a couple canned answers and then make that be their interaction with the outside world, outside the game. And I think that showing the human side is hard to do for the league because there's, frankly, right now there's not a ton of trust either. So it's like, why scratch your back? We would like to do it and have a little more control over those things. So I think shows like this, do that really well. So that's a big reason that I'm excited to be here too. Also, it's almost like the average age of a baseball viewer goes up 1 year every year. So that's usually not a good sign. And there is so many there are young fans, young kids and younger people that like baseball, but they just aren't, they're not in those places that baseball's traditionally been. And figuring out how to meet them where they are is one of the hardest things to do because frankly, the business model isn't as easy. It's not as easy to project making a bunch of money that way. And it's not something that Major League Baseball likes to do, is invest money in things that aren't going to get them a return, at least in some guaranteed way. So, which I get from the business side, but that's where they are. So you got to start taking some swings, I think. In YouTube, I understand there's a TikTok and all kinds of stuff, but it's they like the players and like to be involved in that stuff. And when the players don't really want to do it, it's hard to do. So, I think that's just the future. I mean, it's the future for everything, but baseball could do a better job there. They're trying, but I think it's up to people like us to do to do most of it.
Youth and sex sell. So we got both in you as a host. So it's perfect.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, so let's charge the damn mound because we have a long loaded list of guests today. So let's get to some news first, okay? And we just happen to have pitching injuries dominating the headlines. Go figure. So we'll start with Lucas Giolito. He is getting surgery today. Sucks for Lucas. It's speaking of someone who connects with young fans, and obviously sucks for the Red Sox. It sounds like we won't know exactly what the surgery is until they head in there and see if it's either Tommy John or this internal bracing procedure that has become more popular and prevalent. But there you go from Alex Cora, Pete Abraham with the tweet. We'll know more when they go in. The type of surgery we don't know. So Trevor, we obviously covered the Giolito injury and kind of had a feeling this was going to be something that takes him out for the rest of the season. But what was your reaction when you saw this for him?
Yeah, it sucks. And it seems like he has one of those ones where they're like, we know it's torn, but we don't know the extent of the injury until we get in there. You never want to hear, we don't know what to do until we get in there, when there's surgery, especially when it's with your elbow. So, when I had TJ, this could be fortunate or not, but when they gave me my MRI, there was no gray area. It was gone. But it was as clean as it could have been. So, we knew surgery immediately, and it sounds like Lucas has had some, like, it's been bugging him a little bit, and slowly kind of happening over time. So I hope it's simpler than it looks. But yeah, it's especially for a team like the Red Sox and for Lucas, obviously. But they didn't do much this offseason. He's one of the few things he did, and then to have that happen is like just insult to injury at this point. I'm sure the fans are really, really feeling good right now.
Mm-hmm. They're thinking that they're going to fix the problem by grabbing a spare pitcher on the free agent market. I don't see that happening for them, but you got to hope, you got to dream. Somebody's going to do it. We talk about Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery every day. So welcome to the party, but eventually those two will sign. So where do you think they'll end up? And also, what would you be doing if you were them right now?
Dude, this question, man, the thing, especially with Montgomery, like, I'm like, dude, where is he? I don't even know where he is, because he's not even like, he's not really active on socials that much or anything. So like, I don't even know like what he could possibly be doing. I'm sure it's baseball related, but it'd be interesting to hear that. So like, my guess is like, I literally go off probably Texas. That's where he was last year.
Boston.
Texas or maybe Boston. But I would love for him to go to Boston. They don't seem very excited about signing anybody. So it's hard. It's that I feel like I'm saying that about 20 teams. So yeah, I would. My guess is like those two teams. Also, they could use them. They're Texas is one starting injury away from like some real trouble here. So like they having that guy back would be great. But yeah. It's really hard to put my finger on it. I'm like 20% in those two places, and the other 60% is like the other 28 teams for me. But I'd say Blake Snell. I don't see a world where he doesn't. He just needs to sign with the Giants. It just needs to happen. I think that team it just makes so much sense to me, especially with like a 1-2 punch of him and Logan Webb, them being such different looks too, and like guys that can take over games. Like that's just I would match those two against anybody. So, you went and got Soler, you got Matt Chapman. Like he might, you're a serious contender now. And you have two guys that can go toe to toe with anybody in the league. And then you have, potential to put up some runs. So it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. And then it's on the West Coast, which I think it's pretty clear he wants to be here on the West Coast. He is from Seattle. But if I'm him, like I'm staying as ready as I can, but know that like, there's just simply only so much you can do. I don't know if I'm going to Arizona or to Florida to hang out. I don't know. I don't know if he still has his houses in those places. So if he does, hell yeah, I'm there. But if not, man, I'm throwing on the turf field, coaching my kids' teams and just like getting a deal done as soon as possible. Because the longer you miss the spring, the harder it is to get going. You don't want to follow up a Cy Young year by only throwing like 3 months out of the year. That's just not it. Especially if you're not going to get that long-term deal that you wanted to get started off season, which is probably not looking like he's going to do that. So yeah, I got Giants, and I'll say Texas for Monty.
What is your routine? Because I know what my routine would have to be hitting wise if I'm holding out for 100. Actually, I have no idea what it would mean to hold out for 150 million, but I know what my routine is when I don't have a job. What's your routine as a pitcher? Like even, when you were starting, because these dudes are expected to come in and be guys. It's not like, just kind of ease into the whole Major League Baseball thing.
Yeah. He's going to need a month no matter what. Yeah. Especially up here. If he's up here, man, I don't even know like if there's college teams he could really pitch to up here, because like, you just can't play baseball yet. Not really. So getting live BPs in and simulated games as much as possible. He should be just doing that like on a regular schedule. That's the best you can do. And then just do your best to compete and put yourself in that position. I mean, there is only so much you can do, like I said, but in terms of like game speed, but you have to, because you need 6 starts. You got to get to 5 innings before you're even going to be in a big league game. So you don't want to go down there and then be, all right, I need a month still. And you're just hanging like with the extended team or something, which is this, frankly, the same thing as throwing to like a Division 2 team or 3 team sometimes. So like it's the same thing. So you can start now. Though, what do we have to go off? I have to go. The guy hasn't returned my last 2 texts, so I got to go off his Instagram feed, and I haven't seen any live BPs. But a lot of guys aren't doing that. That's not to say he's not doing it, but That's what I would be doing, especially if I'm a guy of that caliber, because he is going to get signed. It's not like he's not going to get a job. So it's just when.
Yeah.
I thought San Francisco was done this offseason.
Twice.
Twice.
Well, they've been done twice.
I just don't understand why you have to say that. I'm sorry. It just pisses me off when a GM comes out and says, well, we had all offseason, so this is the end of our offseason. 5 minutes later, we announced the signing of Matt Chapman.
Yeah, you don't do anything. You said, I told you. And then you do something, you're like, surprise. So it's like, it's one of those hedging.
The Cubs are in a rain delay if you haven't been paying attention.
Did you see that? So they said what inning they've been in the offseason?
Yeah. I covered that. We've talked about that quite a bit. They're like, we're in the, I think we're like in the 7th inning stretch, and it was like February 15th or 12th. And I was like, you repeat.
And then they signed
days. Like, when's the closer come in? Like, what's happening right now?
They signed the most obvious signing, Cody Bellinger. They got what they wanted in a discount, and now they're in a rain delay because they realize they don't have a third baseman or any starting pitching besides Kyle Hendricks and maybe Tyone, and Justin Steele's going to be there. Steele's their guy.
Steele's awesome. Yep.
He's just like Giolito was for the Red Sox. It's fine. It's great. You just need that guy. You need somebody else on top of that if you want to be better than what did the owner say? We can compete in our division.
Mm-hmm.
Those are exact words. That's neat. That's a neat story.
That one, you can. That's one of those think it, don't say it situations. We're getting a lot. You guys notice we're getting that like Dipoto earlier this offseason. I'm like, probably shouldn't use percentage.
Probably, but I like it. I like it. They're talking.
You like the 54%?
No, I just like it. They're talking.
Yeah. Saying something is better than nothing. I would agree with that. Maybe just I don't know. Say like we have a target or something. I don't know. Just put a target. But I guess he doesn't care. It doesn't seem like he cares. So good for him. I guess I know what it's like to just stop caring. So that was interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm actually pretty big on Imanaga. Just because of I know what type of pitcher he can be. His strikeout numbers are crazy compared to like his stuff, which tells you that there's something kind of maybe funky there that guys might struggle with a little bit, but he's going to get touched by homers. I think we're going to see that. He's going to have to learn that he can't only throw heaters. He throws too many fastballs, but if he does, he's got good stuff. So like there's potential. Again, it's a high ceiling, but again, he's a little older, and you just don't know. You just don't know with Japanese guys and how they're going to adjust. But I think that if he does adjust well, then we're singing a little bit of a tune, and the owner's not wrong. It's a very winnable division.
Yeah, that is true. Hey, let's get to Gerrit Cole, Aaron Judge updates before we bring in our first guest. So we'll start with Judge since we have fresher news there. John Heyman with the tweet, Judge told writers he had an MRI on his abdominal muscle area yesterday and that it came back clean. He hasn't swung for a few days. Won't until maybe later in the week. Said he's pretty sure he'll be ready for opening day. That's in quotes, pretty sure. So we went from him leaving a game early, but them saying he wasn't leaving early, to just a little break during spring training, to an MRI. It came back clean, so that's good. But you couple that with the Cole news, which we'll get to in one sec, and Yankee fans are like, okay, wait, who are our two franchise players? 1, 2, okay.
Panic at the disco. Absolute panic. Maybe a little less panic than Aaron Judge getting into an MRI machine. We got to have an open air MRI. My big fella is not fitting in a regular MRI machine.
There's no way, right?
There is no way. Trevor, you're a big dude. I know you're not fitting in there. My head isn't fitting in a MRI machine. But baseball wise, you don't want to hear abdominal with a hitter. Hopefully, because you think core muscles swing, ain't it? But they're catching it early here, so I'm going to be my positive Yankee self, and I'm going to say this is good. He caught it. He's a vet. He knows what he's doing. They're not going to push it, except the whole fact that he has to play 140 games in center field, according to Aaron Boone, which,
Oof, that just made my whole body hurt. I can't imagine that. the thing with the MRI too, I bet in Florida, nah, but like maybe the HSS. I don't know if you ever went over there into Manhattan and got an MRI there, but they got some big machines in there. I didn't even have to put my arm over my head when I got one on my arm, so I was like, wow, I just get to lay in here. This is nice. I mean, it's still tight, but I fit. And so maybe, but I doubt they flew him up to Florida, but it's Yankees, or flew him up to New York, but it's Yankees. So who knows? But yeah, with abs or like, intercostals or obliques, anything rotational, it's just not something you want to nag you. I mean, like those things are just like constantly happening, and guys try to play through them. And that's when you see like, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, if your side hurts all year, it's pretty hard to swing it back consistently or even hard at all. And so I think that especially with the comments about the toe earlier this spring, where there was a little panic there too, where there's like, it's just something I'm going to have to deal with probably forever. Because that's what happens. You just accumulate, like your body changes and you get older, heal the same way. And that you just keep, dealing with stuff, which is completely normal. But of course everyone's like, oh, it still hurts. So he's like, okay, you know what? If I feel anything, we're going to take any precautions. We're just going to say it right away. And then, so that way, any news after that is probably going to be good news. So I think that's a proper way to address it for sure. I think that was smart.
Cool.
And we'll get to Cole later. We're ready to go for our first guest on FT, Ross Stripling, joining us right now. And Chicken Strip, it's been a minute, dude. We've also got our debut host here, Trevor May, joining the FT fam, our first pitcher on the full-time host list. So you want to say hello to Trevor as well?
Trevor, what's up, dude? Good to have you on the show. We need more pitchers. Start accumulating more, and we'll really get this show flying.
I'll try to start us off here. Good. You talking to us outside of Hohokam there?
I am. Yeah, I was trying to set up my phone just right, but I didn't get the background that I was shooting for. But yeah, it's right in the back there.
Perfect weather, perfect sun. Oh, good
for
you.
This spring's been amazing, man. Last spring was cold. This spring, just perfect every day.
How's camp going?
Honestly, it's been great. It really has. Talk about like a young team, coming off a tough year. Trevor, I know you were part of it. Everyone says hello. You get talked about all the time. Sounds like you left a mark over here in a good way. It's just a young team. Obviously, the next couple of years are totally up in the air as far as like where we're playing, and that's going to be a big narrative around this season, as well as what's opening day look like. We're hearing about a possible boycott, some stuff like that. So it reminds me of like a young Blue Jays team that I joined, where I was playing in Buffalo and then Dunedin in Buffalo before we got to Toronto, and just like a young core that's come up together, and they're all just trying to make it to the big leagues. There's not a lot of egos. They're just like excited young guys, but it's been a good camp. A lot of, back to the basics. We got to get these young guys doing the plenty amount of PFPs and stuff that you make young guys do that a lot of the veteran teams don't do, but that's part of it. It's been great.
So let's backtrack for a sec. Take me back, Strip, to when you found out the news about being traded over here, because we haven't had you on in several weeks. So what was your reaction to not only ending up with Oakland, but even just to being traded? Were you surprised that you were going to be dealt? I'm sure they didn't call you in advance and say, hey, we're probably going to trade you.
Yeah, not the way it goes. I think any of those calls you get are always a surprise, right? I had some really good conversations throughout the offseason with the Giants coaches that stayed, such as JP Martinez, the pitching coach over there, as well as the new guys, Brian Price, obviously Bomel, and just felt like I had a really good rapport with everyone over there. So I felt good going into the second year as a Giant and ready to like make good on the contract that I signed there and have a better year than I did in 2023. And then I'm throwing a live BP at Rice University. I got my Apple Watch on and it goes off. It says Farhan. You're like, that's, you never know what that is. And I finished my live BP and I call him back. And then just very matter of fact, like, Strip, we traded you to the A's. We had a good conversation, left it in a good place. And then the rest of that day is just madness as far as saying bye to people from the Giants, getting all the calls from Mark Kratz, et cetera, from the A's, and calling my wife and saying like, look, we got traded, but guess what? We're not moving houses in Arizona or in the East Bay, so don't stress too much. I'm just got a different commute to work now. But it was as any of those calls that you get, man, just absolutely hectic 48 hours. And then we're used to it, man. You come into a new locker room, and I got 100 new friends right away. And now a few weeks into camp, I feel right at home.
So you're already over in the East Bay, anyway. So are you actually like closer now to work?
I just my average commute will probably be about the same, but I won't have to deal with the Bay Bridge, right? Every now and then, man, that Bay Bridge, especially on those day games, whew,
Fact.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now rather than going over the Bay Bridge, I just hang a left into Oakland, coming down the hill from Lafayette, and so it'll be an easier drive for sure.
All right. Well, watch out for those motorcycles. You mentioned the young crew, and I got a lot of love for those guys, and there's some kids in that locker room that I think are going to be stars. Anyone in particular that has surprised you or impressed you so far in camp?
Yeah, I mean, the low-hanging fruit is Zach Geloff. He just has lived up to the hype in every way. I think coming off of, really storming the league last year with what do you have? He had like 20 and 20, and it just after he got caught up after the All-Star break. So really took the league by storm, and then carrying it into a spring. He's had a really hot spring. We've had a couple guys that have had really hot springs. Andujar's having a good spring. JJ Bleday's having a good spring. Seems like we've got a lot of guys that are hitting. And then, went and got some veterans on the staff, myself, Alex Wood, Trevor Gott, Scott Alexander. So maybe brought a little bit of veteran leadership to a pitching staff of some really good young arms. JP Sears, I think, looks like he's going to be the real deal. We keep calling him a little bit Billy Wagner, the way he just like stays all compact like that. He throws just like Billy Wagner. So he's taking that comp and feeling good about it for sure, as he should. And but anyway, so to answer your question, Zach Geloff, he actually just walked over there. They're doing like the 30 teams in 30 days or whatever they do for MLB Network. And he has all the tools, man, everything you're looking for. And on top of that, he's got like 2 months in the show, and he's our MLBPA union rep. So like we've just thrusted everything on him. So, but he's handled it all in stride, and looks like he's going to have an awesome breakout year and continue what he's already done.
Did you go with a team to Vegas?
I did not, man. You know what? Any other year I would have gone, Kratzy, but I had both sides of the family in town for a double birthday. Both my kids have around the same birthday, so we just had a birthday party for them this last weekend. So I couldn't go. Otherwise, I'm not missing a trip to Vegas. But when you got both sides of family in town for a birthday party, I can't really be like, all right, I'll see you guys in 48 hours and go to Vegas.
The Athletics might miss a trip to Vegas in 3 years, but hey, that's different. That's different news. We'll see what happens there. You're on a guaranteed deal. You can discuss that, but I want to know before we get to that, what kind of cake did you guys have for a double birthday party? It's got to be some legit cake.
It was legit. My wife did a great job. She has a future career in event planning. I think she is dynamite at it. I can't tell you what my 3-year-old's was. It was like a combo, like vanilla, all sorts of stuff. But the 1-year-old, his name's Brody. You get him the smash cake, right, where you just put it right in front of him and you just like see what he does. And I'll probably post a video on Instagram at some point. He like looks at it for a second, really trying to feel it out. What is this thing? And it's just like, whoa, he just starts hammering it. So that's like a rite of passage for a little guy. I think that's legitimately the first time he's had sugar in his life. So it was perfect.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if he had ever had any sugar up until that point, because it's like you see their eyes get bigger and you're like, is this really happening? Mom, can I do this? Who was more nervous about him having sugar, mom or dad?
Definitely mom. Mom sometimes at a restaurant will like get up and use the restroom, and I'll slip Brody a little taste of some ice cream, or maybe let him try the Sour Patch Kid or whatever, even when Mama's not looking. But she doesn't know that. What's water boy? Well, Mama don't know, don't hurt her. Brody's had sugar maybe a time or two before, but that was the first cake experience.
You eased him in. Yeah. like the bad guy in high school. I get it.
Yeah.
Giving the freshman a couple cigarettes. I see what you're doing.
I'm earning the brownie points early, man. I'm setting up the stage to be good cop. and my wife doesn't even know. Yeah. We'll see if it works out. I'll keep you updated.
Hey, Strip, what did the guys say about the Vegas trip?
Sounds like it was great. I think the first night was a little chilly. I'm not sure there was a ton of fans there. And then the second night sounds like it was full house, or second day, full house. And, it's definitely like one of those places that pitchers don't want to go, but hitters love it. It's the ball flies, especially just kind of in that league, in that part of the PCL in general, right? But, that I have not played there, but I heard the stadium's awesome. I've heard, the facilities are great, and it sounds like guys had a good trip. It's kind of nice to break up the monotony of spring training, right? And it was a show trip. Got on a big league plane, stayed in a nice hotel in Vegas, got some meals, and played 2 big league games, in the middle of spring training. And some of these guys were coming up for minor league camp and just enjoyed a little 48-hour kind of feeling like a big leaguer little thing. So I think it was great.
Can't beat a show trip. I mean, you can't beat a trip to Vegas either in spring training. I was all pumped when I saw that on the schedule last year, even though I also didn't go when they were like, "Hey, you want to go?" I was like, "No." But that 21-year-old does, I'm sure. So I want to do a little transition into talk some pitching. I've been told that you have a new pitch in the works, and it's got a name, the Death Ball. First of all, phenomenal name. Second of all, I was just talking about this with some I think some of my buddies at home. I was like, I think more people need to name their pitches. I think we need to go full major league. I think that everyone should name their pitches. So tell us about the Death Ball. Okay, so what do we got working with? What kind of pitch? What are we looking for here?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, coming from Major League where Charlie Sheen was like naming his stuff the Exterminator or whatever, some people have varying opinions on that. They're like, stop calling it the Death Ball, dude. Like, it's essentially it's a gyro slider from a high arm angle, right? Like if you look at Fairbanks, Luke Jackson, Zach Jackson actually has one here, Nick Martinez, Glasnow, Verlander, like big, tall dudes with high arm slots. You're throwing a gravity ball, right? If I'm killing any horizontal movement from a high slot on top of a mound, like for instance, the ones I was throwing the other day against the Brewers, we're consistently coming out like 7'2", 7'3", 7'3" in the air. And that thing's got to get to 6 inches above the ground if I'm trying to punch you out. That thing's moving a lot, even though the TrackMan may not pick it up because it's actually spinning so inefficiently that the TrackMan almost thinks it's a 0-0 ball, as in it's not moving. But it is because of just where I'm releasing it and where it has to end up at the plate. And it's a hard moving downward slider. And just to get into it, I threw 12 of them the other day against the Brewers, 10 in the strike zone, and all 10 got swung at, which is cool. But only one swing and miss. It was a strikeout to Christian Yelich, which I'll take all day. But it's getting more contact than I was initially hoping for. The reason I added it to the arsenal was to try and get more swing and miss. But so far, the results have been good. I've only given up one hit, and it was like 61 miles an hour off the bat blooper. So, I'm still chasing swing and miss. That's the last kind of piece of my game that if I can get would just be, absolutely dynamite for me. But if it's kind of better than my existing slider, which so far it seems like it is, then it's a good addition to the arsenal, but it just may not exactly. That's why I'm a little hesitant when people keep asking me about it. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself because I don't think I'm all of a sudden going to go out and punch out 280 guys this year. But I do think it's going to be a better pitch to mix in and get soft contact and hopefully a little bit more swing and miss.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I have a pretty good idea of where Danny Jimenez actually throws one too. Something similar. It's kind of like it's kind of what guys tried to get with their curveballs for a long time, but it was just hard to get the velo on it. So it's something that's a little bit harder that goes with depth. That seems to be a pitch that a lot of guys are adding these days, especially when the sweeper might not be an option. What led you to this this idea or this change? Was there like a teammate that was doing it really well, or were you just looking around the league, guys that threw similar to you that had things that were going well, and you want to just kind of dabble and see if you also had that weapon?
Yeah, great question. A little bit of two things. I already mentioned Luke Jackson. He was a Giant. He throws a really good one. So I had kind of a weird September last year where I wasn't getting to pitch a whole lot, and I was kind of on the IL and wanting to come back and having, I was healthy and able to work on stuff, and I was kind of like picking his brain on how to do it. And then fast forward, it's now the World Series, and Montgomery's just getting so much praise for that breaking ball that he's throwing. You're kind of hearing him, people call it death ball. I think death ball is really coined by Tread. So Tread's all over social media saying it's a death ball. And so I texted the guys from the Giants, JP Martinez, and now with the Red Sox, Andrew Bailey, and was just like, should I try this thing? Like, what do you guys think? And they're like, from your arm slot, if you can find even remotely what some of those guys have, it would be a great weapon. So this is the first offseason I threw year round. I just kind of started toying with it in even November through December and into bullpens in January. And it's gotten to a good place. I keep messing with it. I keep trying to think I can make it nastier. Like Luke Jackson's is like 0 horizontal, -7. So I'm talking like that thing is like straight down at like 87. Mine's like 0 vert, 0 horizontal at like 84, right? So it's not as much depth, but I'm also releasing it from 6 inches higher than him. So does it actually have the same amount of depth? I don't know. This is all above my head, but there's guys that are trying to help me out, and we're getting a feel for it.
So is it called a death ball because if it doesn't work out, it's going to be a death to your career? Or is it because the death ball is, and I'm thinking about, and I want to go back and look at this swing, Christian Yelich's swing. Did he think it was going to have more horizontal break? And since it was just more straight down, did he swing where he thought it was going to be? Like, did he swing inside of it like he thought it was going to break farther into him? Do you remember?
Gosh, great question. I would guess he swung over the top of it because he thought it was a fastball. I'd already thrown him a fastball away in that lane, and then I threw the gyro ball kind of in that same lane. I think he swung over the top of it. So I don't. If I were to guess, I wouldn't think that he read slider that was going to move into him. I think that he read heater and then a ball that moved down below his barrel. That's a good question. Yeah, when you guys have him on, let him know. I'm sure he'd love to talk about it and then relay it back to me.
His spring training strikeout against Ross Stripling.
Yeah.
He wanted you to throw another sinker so he could go deep sauce off you.
Yeah, that's actually, if you type in Ross Stripling into Giphy, the number one GIF will be me in Milwaukee doing something like this. I'm like looking up in the sky. I'm going, because I just thrown Yelich a cutter on an 0-1 cutter on his hands that I was trying to move his feet. Like I was literally trying to get him out of the box because I was going to go to like a changeup away, and he pulled it for a homer. So like a ball that I was throwing. Yeah, I was throwing a ball to literally almost try and hit him to just get him uncomfortable, and he just gets his hands and pulls it for a homer. And my reaction was like, what the hell just happened? So that's my most popular GIF.
Hey, Strip, let me ask you this. So the transition from San Francisco to the A's, do you think on the personal side it's helpful for you? Because I know, Bob Melvin taking over is probably going to change things, but we've spoken to quite a few Giants pitchers this offseason who were like, yeah, it's a unique setup there. And in fact, even can hinder some players from signing there if they're concerned that, they might be kind of messed around with. We've gotten into this, but now it sounds like, hey, every fifth day, A's rotation, and we freaking need you. No messing around. Go do your thing.
Yeah, I've always asked for this opportunity. Right now, it feels like it's getting handed to me, and very excited for it. And so yes, from a career standpoint and an opportunity standpoint, it certainly feels like the best opportunity I've had. Like coming out of a spring training of maybe a leash to fail, right, and a leash to just go get 100 pitches every fifth day and give us the best chance to win that you can, Strip, and show some of these young guys what it's like to be a big league starter and what it's like behind the scenes to put the work in and to get ready every fifth day and help them prepare to navigate through a lineup, an Astros lineup, a Rangers lineup, etc. So it's a really cool combination of the best opportunity I've had in my career to log innings and to be a dude every fifth day, but also to be a leader. I mean, I'm the second oldest guy on the team. I have the second most service time on the team. This is not a role I'm familiar with. I'm used to being on the Dodgers and Blue Jays and following like Kershaw around like a little puppy dog saying, "Show me the way, Clayton." To now kind of being the opposite of that, and that's a really cool place to be. But also, like we've already talked, I'm still trying to figure stuff out myself here. But to answer your question, the stuff with the Giants, I don't think worked out the way anybody anticipated. I think if you were to ask Farhan or Gabe Kapler this time last year, I don't think they thought it was going to go that way. It just ended up kind of through injuries and where they thought we could get an advantage of winning baseball games. That's what we did, and we rocked Alex Cobb and Logan Webb, 2 starters all year, and after that, it was anybody, anytime. And this feels like it's going to be much more consistent starting opportunities and just kind of really knowing when I'm in there and able to prepare. Which as Trevor and Kratz and everybody knows that's listening, like the more prepared you can be mentally as far as what your role is and really knowing to expect, I think the more chance you have to have success out there on the field, and so just feeling overall better about that for sure.
People always say, and I even just said it yesterday, oh, bet on this guy. He's got it's a free agent year. You're going to be a free agent after this year. And I know you're 34, you'll be 35. Guys are getting plenty of contracts. Is there something in you that says, oh man, I'm not going to be in a swing role where I get 110 innings. I'm going to get my 180 innings, and I'm going to start 32 times this year. this is perfect going into my free agent year, because we always talk about that like a position player. He's motivated, free agent year, that kind of thing. You feel like that's a real thing in today's game?
Yeah, I do. And it's kind of like one of those things, like, for instance, Anthony Rendon a couple weeks ago said the stuff about like the families, like, look, baseball is cool, but family comes first. If something happened to my family, I'd leave baseball in a heartbeat, whatever it is that he said. And you take some flack for it because it's like kind of one of those things you don't say, even though everyone knows it. And it's 100% true. The free agent thing's kind of the same. It's like, yeah, I am a free agent at the end of this year. I would love to have a good year because I get a further chance to set up my career for more longevity and to obviously make more money to support my family and possibly create generational wealth, right? That is obviously one of everyone's major goals in this game. But at the same time, kind of what you just touched on, I've never really had anybody come up to me like, Strip, you have 180 innings this year, man. Let's see what you can do. And I think it's helped me. I'm certainly not complaining. I think it has helped me knowing that my role is ever changing and that I've never had a secure role. Those Dodger teams, I competed for every inning I ever had, Blue Jays teams included. I think that brought the best out of me. But I've also believed that my two best stretches of my career were 18 and 2022, when I got some leeway as a starter and got some runway and really felt comfortable in the starting rotation. And that's when I've had the two best stretches of my career. So I would love to think that I have that ahead this year too, because I know that my opportunity to be a starter I just have more leash than I've had in a long time. And I think that hopefully gives me some peace of mind to know that I can fail, but I'm going to get the ball again in 5 days and get another chance at it.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to, right? Just getting opportunities in the game. And with a lot of stuff going on over there, but these thoughts were all thoughts that I also shared exactly a year ago. So that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you're going to get that opportunity to go out there and take the ball every 5. You mentioned that you're the second oldest guy on the team and second in service time. I can also identify with that. So a certain role fell to me, and that is taking the mic at the front of the bus. If there is a guy on the team now, especially with the new vets that came in, because there's 4 of you, there was only 1 of me. Which one would you say, you can include yourself if you want, think that job is going to fall to, or would do a good job? Maybe they don't do it, but they could do a good job.
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. Of the new guys, Woody would be the best. Alex Wood. He would be the best of all of us, but I'm still not convinced he would be great. He'd just be the best of all of us. That is a hard job, man. I mean, some of those, Kratz, you probably remember that those are 30-minute, bus rides in where you are providing the entertainment to 26 dudes that just got off a show flight and are trying to finish the night strong and have a good time, and they're looking to you to entertain them. That is not easy. So to answer your question, I would probably go Lawrence, but he's obviously competing for a spot, so I don't know that we would thrust that on him. We'd also want him to be the one singing. Part of it's bringing the young guys up and you make them do the singing and the entertainment while you just kind of facilitate it. You might know better than me, man. Anybody off the top of your head need to be your protege?
I mean, I think Geloff would do a good job. But I think you just run with Brownie, man. Just
yeah.
You got no choice. That's yours. He was up there. I'd make him. I'd bring him on as a guest every once in a while. And I had Tony Kemp up there with me too, so I wasn't alone. But yeah, they weren't taking the mic out of my hands. Let's put it that way. Yeah, that's a good one. I would love to see what I think Woody. That would have been my guess. So it's good to hear that.
Long story short, it's not me. I can promise you that it's not me. I can throw some Taylor Swift or some Justin Bieber on for the boys, and but after that, I don't have many jokes. So it's not going to be me.
Hey, Ross. So most of the dudes you're playing with, obviously way younger, way less service time. They're going to be under team control for a while. I think it was Tony Clark on our show a couple weeks ago who mentioned that the team met with the players to just at least try and clear up what's going on, especially in the future. Was there a meeting? Were you in on it? And were they like, maybe Utah, maybe Sacramento? We called the Giants, but I don't think they'll let us in their house. Did you have any of those combos with the whole organization?
Yeah, we did. I guess it was the first day we had the whole team in here for spring. And it was like an all-encompassing meeting of kind of where they are and who they've talked to and kind of what's at stake and who's, the driving forces behind it, as well as how to handle it in the media, right? So here I am talking to you guys and just kind of what to say when it gets asked of us. At the end of the day, I don't think they know. And I guess who really holds the power is the TV, the TV deal, right? They want to know that people are going to watch. So you want to stay close to the area that they play, right? So that you get Oakland fans or Bay Area fans to watch the game. So if you go to Vegas, is that really are they really still capitalizing on Bay Area fans sitting and watching Oakland A's baseball? I'm not sure. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to figure out is like we probably got to stay close to Oakland so that the TV guys are happy. But really, what's best for players? It's a decision that I'm glad I'm not having to make. But yeah, we had a meeting. They kept us as up to date as they could. But when we exited that meeting, I think we all knew like, man, this is not an easy conversation or an easy decision to make, and it doesn't seem like we're necessarily close to having an answer right now.
Okay, yeah, and hopefully soon because they do have to make the schedule for next year for everyone's sake, which is helpful. We're hitting that deadline soon, so let's finish with this. Trevor, advice for Strip, especially when the season starts, because I'm assuming next time we have him on will probably be in April at this point. So like a certain chair he's got to grab, certain, I don't know, food item he's got to make sure he's on top of. No, I'm not talking about in the pen. I'm just talking about in the ballpark.
He's sitting on a Gatorade cooler is where he's sitting. That's where all the starters at. First, a piece of advice for the Coliseum. I mean, you've been over there a few times, I'm sure, but no, here's a big one. Get to know the security guards. They're like some of the funniest, coolest people ever. I actually got to see a couple of them at the fan fest they had the other day, and they came up and just got all hype. It was so awesome to see them. So a lot of great people that work there, and a lot of interesting people with a lot of great stories. So ask people questions, like just ask it because they've all been there for like 25 years. Everybody. So it's one of the most like. They have the most baseball stories you ever heard. So if you're into that kind of stuff and like hearing stuff like that, you'll never find more than you will at the Coliseum. So do that for sure.
Yeah, we'll do. I will say that's the one thing you can tell about the A's, man. They take care of their own. A lot of the coaches and staff and people have been here 20 plus years. When Kratz was rolling around introducing everybody, he was like, Coach XYZ, this is his 26th year. Clubby XYZ, this is his 19th year. You can just tell they have a lot of history and a lot of pride and a lot of guys that have been through the ups and downs of this organization, right? The good times and the bad times, and a lot of them played in the organization. So it's been fun to be a part of so far, and definitely feel at home and feel good about it, and appreciate the advice. I'll go tell those guys what's up.
Well, thanks, Ross. Great to have you on, dude. Obviously, to catch up. I love the freaking hat, too. That pops. That pops. For all the bad uni talk, they nailed it on a lot of the hats this year. Like, they are freaking pristine. So excited to watch you on the mound soon, dude, in a regular season game. And we'll talk to you next month.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Trevor, good luck, man. You got this. You're going to do great.
Thanks, Brad.
I love that. Thanks, Strip.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya. Good stuff there. All right. So before we get to our next guest, I do want to sneak this in there and get to Hot Corner and the Gerrit Cole injury. And everyone is anxiously awaiting updates from the AL Cy Young winner from last year. So here's another Heyman tweet I'll read for you. Cole's velocity and command have been fine, but recovery hasn't been as good as usual for March. He felt a twinge, discomfort, they're calling it, in a start. Thus the MRI. And usually, Trevor, we get the MRI, the results, and the chat right away. But it sounds like he's going to take a little time, maybe get multiple opinions, see what's going on. So that actually sucks way more for fans because you're freaking out and you're fearing the worst. And they could come back and be like, general soreness, just going to stop him for a week or two, and then we'll pick things back up.
Yeah, it seems like they're just hopping on things early. Like I said, I think even the judge thing feels like it's like right when he felt something, they said something, which I think generally long term is a good rule to follow, even if it like doesn't look as good at the beginning and tends to be nothing. You would rather it be that way than the other way, which is what usually happens. So I would say that's cause to be as optimistic that at least like they're being very open about it, and and they're also being very cautious because he is he's the top of your flying V of your starting rotate. Like you need him, and you need Judge healthy too. So those two guys are their they're big guys, and they need to make sure that they're healthy and that people are going to notice if they're not out there. So definitely get out ahead of it. So I am a fan of that. I don't think that's not usually what teams do. So, I think that's cause for maybe a little optimism.
Yeah, and last year it was Cole and the rest. And you're always going to say that to an extent because he's at such an elite level, but the rest of the Yankees rotation just was not getting it done last year. And so Yanks fans have PTSD because the one dude that they can rely on every 5 is him. And even if he starts the season late, I think there's panic mode. Like even if they come back and say, hey, listen, like there's not really much going on here, a little soreness, we're just going to stop him for a week and then we pick things back up. So he'll be there in week 2. I still think Yankee fans are going to kind of freak out because it's also just such a competitive division. And they're like, we want to win the division. We want to win the World Series. And, they had the big Juan Soto edition. But to me, a lot of that can get shot down if they don't have a decent rotation. And it's okay. I don't think you'd rank it like top, 3 or 5 in the bigs right now, would you?
No, I'd say Rodon. It just depends on Rodon. But he's just like, he's nails, then he's just like, where'd he go? And then he's nails. This is year after year. So we're in one of those nails years. So, hopefully for Yankees fans that pans out that way. But, in terms of comes to panicking, I mean, it's New York, man. Like panic is their middle name. Like it's just the way it works there. So a lot of this is just kind of par for the course. Just another Tuesday. You know what I mean?
True. Well, and they had a rough year. I mean, they're not used to missing the playoffs too, so fans are going to freak out. They're like, I can't take that again. All right, let's get to a super team, another one. The Dodgers and Ryan Yarbrough joining us on FT Live right now. Ryan, great to see you, dude. And are you excited for the long flight coming up?
Hey guys, what's going on? It's been a while, and yeah, what is it, like 14 hours we got here in a couple of days? So I think everyone's trying to mentally prepare for that right now.
Give me all the details. Like, tell me what the plan is next week, what they've told you. Is it a different plane? Give me everything. And then once you get there too, what the expectations are on the Seoul series, because the season starts next week. It's weird to say, like baseball, regular season style starts next week in Seoul at like 6 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's some different. I know we're doing a bigger plane. Obviously, we don't have like the full specs. I know some guys were talking about what exactly it was. It had like suites on it, and like obviously a lot of like first class style like seats and things like that. Anything for that kind of flight, they're going to try to make it as comfortable as possible for us. So, but yeah, between that, we've already had like a sleep specialist who came in yesterday to kind of like help with like the jet lag and obviously the time change that is pretty drastic. And then just everything we can kind of do in between leading up to it these next couple of days for like sleep, hydration, and then getting over there. It's just kind of getting down to business. I know we have like 2 exhibition games against Korean teams. And then, we have the 2 games against the Padres. So if we're going to be pretty busy over there, but at the same time, I think we're going to try to do some things to kind of be able to explore and kind of be a little touristy.
Is it your first time in Korea?
Yeah, first time. So no idea what to expect. Definitely want to try some new things for food, and I think we're doing a tour of the palace. So I think that should be pretty interesting as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about this series. The 2 exhibition games, I'm sure, will also be just absolutely electric. But you got the Yamamoto and you got the Ohtani, and they have Ha-Seong Kim. And so a lot of people don't know about the Korea-Japanese baseball rivalry that's pretty huge. And some of this stuff, it's bigger than I think a lot of Americans know. Have you heard much about the type of atmosphere you might see in Korea? Like, is there anything you're like most excited about, something they do? Because I know Japan does a lot of things that we don't do in America, and so does Korea. Have you heard anything about those things?
Not like specifically to what, like I know like just from playing with a couple of Japanese guys in my career, just like all the different things during the game that with the fan interactions and how they're just it feels kind of like a different game over there just from the fan experience and how like the energy they bring. But no, it hasn't been too much. I just know like just between, like you said, we have Yamamoto and Ohtani, and they have Kim, and I think they have a couple guys in their bullpen who are from Korea as well. Just it's going to be a ton of support, ton of excitement, and playing in a dome, it's just going to be electric, super loud. So I can't even imagine what to expect with that. But I think that's going to be pretty insane to kind of just see how everything goes over there.
Are you guys ready? Or is this too short of a camp? Because we always talk about spring training being shorter. Like, are you guys ready for this as a team? Do you feel like the team is like a few days from playing actual games that matter?
100%. I think it was really strange getting here so early compared to everybody else and getting ready. But it honestly helped get us where we needed to be just from the extra reps. It's just been really weird seeing like guys who are like other starting pitchers who are like just getting into spring training games for the first time, like in the last couple of days, and everyone like most of our guys have gone like 4 or 5. So like it's been kind of strange with that aspect, but it's just from the fact that we're having to go over there. So no, I think 100% we're ready to go. I think at this point we're just kind of chomping at the bit to just get going and get over there.
Have they posted the roster as far as like not everybody needs to go? So have they posted, hey, you know what? We're going to carry this many relievers instead of these guys. And are those guys that aren't going, are they pissed or are they still going and just working out with the team? Is some guys staying back?
Yeah, I think they're still working out the roster decisions just because we still have a good amount of guys on our side of camp. I don't even know. I think you guys might be able to tell me this. We've kind of talked about it internally between players, but I think there's supposed to be like extended rosters, or I don't know how they do it, just because it's so strange between doing this for 2 games and like I said, like if a starter decides not to go because he's not going to pitch, just because the jet lag and the everything that comes with that, like will he have to go on like some like different roster or something like that? So we're trying to figure that out internally. You know how there's so much downtime here. You got things to talk about in the locker room. So I'm not really sure how that's all going to work, but I know like I'm assuming we're going to bring extra guys just because of the whole exhibition games as well.
Have you ever flown? I know you said you haven't gone to Korea. Have you ever gone to Japan or flown this far with this much jet lag?
No, not anything like this. And I don't even think like flying with two kids under 2 for 5 hours can compare to it. So especially when they're wailing like crazy for the whole flight. But no, I've never done anything like this, so that'll be pretty exciting. And I say that now. Maybe we'll talk again and we'll reassess.
You'll totally be fine. You will be fine. The only jet lag that I ever had when I went to Japan, the 2 different times I went to Japan, I felt like I was going to throw up like 9 hours after we landed. And I was like, I'm just so tired. I took a nap for 45 minutes. Completely done. All jet lag.
Power nap.
Power nap.
Now,
that's what helped me.
Do you think it'll be like going there or back? Because obviously we're losing a day, because I think we literally take off Thursday morning and we land technically like Friday afternoon there. So I feel like maybe coming back could be, I don't know which way is going to be harder, but I know any kind of thing with that time change can be pretty difficult.
I got it both ways. Same exact feeling. Power nap killed both the feelings. I was super, super lucky.
Power nap, baby. Dig it.
Hey, Ryan, let's get into the difference between your Dodgers experience this year versus last year. So you get dealt to the Dodgers last year, and obviously the team was an 100-win ball club, didn't end up in the spot they wanted to be in the postseason. And there's always fanfare around the Dodgers and media. But then you show up to camp this year, and how different was it in terms of how many people were around you and just what the vibe was like, because you have 2 international superstars that joined the team that weren't there when you joined them last year.
Yeah, I've never seen anything even remotely like this. And just in general, in spring training, like the fields are pretty spread out and you have to go to the back fields, like way out in the back of the complex. But at any time, where Ohtani is, just for the fact that like fans are literally freaking out when they see him and screaming and shouting and trying to get his attention. Like we could be 3 fields over and you hear just a giant uproar of like, oh, I guess Ohtani's coming out to the field to do something. So it's just remarkable between him and Yamamoto and everyone else we signed, like bringing Glasnow over, Teoscar, and I know I'm missing a couple guys. But just the pure excitement from the fan base, and like I said, now it's on an international level, and how many people have come to just see spring training games. Like all our spring training games were completely sold out. I think we had this last weekend, since we're leaving early, we had like 3 home games, and it was the most fan attendance. I think we got some kind of text that it was the most fan attendance in like Dodgers spring training history. And like you're like that for how historic and accomplished this franchise is. You'd be like, well, that really of all time, like this amount of people have come out. So I think that's just kind of a crazy stat to think about. There's that much excitement just for these couple guys that they brought in, and just for the season and the expectations and the excitement for this year. It's pretty incredible.
Have you thrown the javelin?
I have not. I've seen. Have
you touched it?
Yes, I have touched it, and honestly,
he touched the javelin.
Yeah, well, you sneak, you see him, little laying over there, so you're kind of like, all right, I just kind of want to pick up and see how heavy these things are, and a little heavier than a weighted ball, like maybe like a 9 or 10 ounce javelin, maybe a little lighter than that, just because. But he throws these things like crazy, and it's a crazy part is you kind of throw them like, okay, that's pretty cool. All right, we'll work with that. But no,
what happened? The lights went out.
Lights went out.
Clap somewhere.
Clap.
That didn't work. But you see him throw, and you're like, okay, that's pretty impressive. And you don't think you realize how like hard it is because you've seen other guys do it, and they like nose tail, like they go nowhere. But then you see him like launching them, and like he doesn't even look like he's trying. So it's pretty incredible, and even just like his whole regimen and workouts and things like that it's just completely different. But it just is so mind-boggling how incredibly in shape and like flexible, and his mobility is just unbelievable.
The stuff that is happening now with guys are doing to prepare to throw is like, I've been retired for less than 6 months, and I'm just like, I haven't even seen some of this stuff even ever, which is crazy. But I want to switch gears real quick, and let's talk about Ryan Yarbrough. How about going into this year? We all set goals. We all wanted to kind of we have an idealized version of what our year would look like. So what's one big thing that you want to accomplish going into this year? It can be just a you goal that,
Right.
that you think help the Dodgers win. What's the big thing? What's the big thing that you would consider a successful season?
Oh, man. Well, I feel like I've been, for different reasons the last couple of years on a personal level, a little banged up. So I think that would just be like kind of getting through the season healthy. Obviously the freak accident thing last year. But that would be like on a personal goal because my role is so like fluid, where I think it's really hard to kind of dictate like innings or things like that. But anyway, I can help the team win in that regard. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I've done so many different things in my career and role wise. I think at this point you see the team that we have put together. It's just okay. How can I fit in? How can I help this team win? Okay, you need me to cover innings today. Great, let's do it. If you need me to come in for like 2 batters today, all right, let's do it. So that would be how I'm viewing it personally. And then obviously as a team, I think the end all goal for every team, but us specifically, is one, get to the playoffs, which is kind of our expectations every year, and then to win the World Series. So, but I think if you're not thinking that way, I think you're going into the season with the wrong mindset.
Ryan, Mookie Betts is now going to be behind you on the other side. So what do you think of the casual switch a week before the season? Like, sure, right field, second. Oh, we need you at short. Can you play there?
That's easy.
Dude, he is like, I know like there was like a poll of like who the craziest athlete in all of baseball is, and everyone was like, yeah, it's Mookie Betts, and it's not even close. Like he literally can do everything. We had his whole bowling charity thing right before spring training out in LA during our fan fest, and you just watch him do that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of mind boggling. And then you see him, and he'll like guys are like most clubhouses, crazy ping pong players, and like they're just getting like after it. And he's like, I haven't picked one up in a while. Let me see what I got. And he's over there just like absolutely just getting after it with these guys. So I think there's nothing that guy can't do. He's just a one of one, man. We have a couple of those guys on our team, but I have zero problems with that. I feel like he's going to be great at it. He played behind me the other day last time I threw, and had complete faith and confidence in him. So he's going to do great wherever they put him. So it's just pretty exciting to kind of see, like, it's just, transition. You want to try shortstop today? Okay, man, that's cool. Let's try it.
I bet he can't throw a javelin.
I don't know,
But
man.
again,
There's already been the things where he's been working out with Yamamoto's strength guy. So I swear, if I go out there and find out he's out there doing it today, I'll let you know. But like, I would not put it past him. Although I don't think at this point he needs any more arm strength than he already has.
What's going to happen? Because we always talk about like narratives going into seasons, games. When Mookie Betts makes an error, because he will make an error, what's going to happen? What's his demeanor like to be able to handle that?
I don't think it'll be anything for him. Like, obviously you don't want it to happen but look, it's baseball. Things don't always go your way. Things happen, crazy hops, things like that. So he's been doing it for a long enough time and crazy confidence, so I don't think it's going to bother him in any way, especially because we're all going to be there to pick him up and support him, just like he did if he made an error out in right field or at second base last year. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I think that's just going to be, it happens throughout the year at some point. It's just all part of it.
But how does he handle it? Because he's an alpha guy in that clubhouse. And
Yeah.
I think you've seen superstars handle it differently, pouting, slamming bats. Other dudes are like, Kyle Schwarber, he strikes out. He makes an effort to make sure he puts his helmet in the rack right away, his bat in the bat rack, and he is up there cheering. It's almost like his way of like showing the guys, hey, I struck out. Like, it doesn't matter. And I get it. It might be a different, but how does Mookie Betts handle that?
Yeah, I think first of all, there's a ton of accountability. There's like most guys, and especially who are very Gold Glove caliber and obviously extreme to his for him as an example. There's always, if you're pitching, you kind of notice the guys who come up to you in between half inning and say like, "Hey man, that's on me. I got you." Or like, he was one of those guys who was like, "God forbid something happens." Like, dude, that's on me, man. Like, take the full accountability. And he always will go out, but he was like, "Give me another one. Let's go. I got you, man. Like, you need to trust me." So I think he just wants and like he has that drive to continue to get better and make up for it. But he'll come up to you between, and you kind of see there's some guys in your career who will do that, and some guys are just like, it happens. So definitely a guy who'll come up to you and really try to show you like, dude, that's on you. Like, keep doing your thing, man. Just I got you behind me. So that's how I've always viewed it, and I feel like you can really appreciate it as a pitcher, like guys who are willing to come up to you and like admit something doesn't go their way.
Guy's a consummate pro. I played against him all through the minors, and we had a nickname called him Mookie Mantle. The Yankees fans didn't like that very much because he was with the Red Sox at the time, but he has not stopped since then. So your team's full of stars. We've covered that. So I need you to make a prediction for me. And this one, I thought about it. I'm like, this is actually going to be harder than I think I'm anticipating. Who leads the Dodgers in home runs this year?
Oh, gosh.
Which one? Pick one.
Yeah. Draw a name out of the hat. I think I know he's done it before. I'm really curious to see with Ohtani just every day. I think it'll probably be Ohtani, but I don't think it's going to be like drastic much of a difference. Although he could go off for like 50 or 60, who knows? But like just because we have guys with crazy, like you can't really count out Muncy. The guy's got crazy pop. And like Freddie and Mookie are just, man, now you're putting me on the spot. But yeah, I have to say Ohtani. Like, I feel like that's just like the first one that comes to your mind. But like, I don't think guys are going to be too far off.
Front runner.
Yeah.
Front runner.
Yeah.
There might be 3 guys with 40 though. There might be 3 guys with 40 homers on one team.
Don't worry about telling Teoscar. Don't worry about saying Malamia, Teoscar. It's okay. You got a new guy. It's okay, Bobby.
Yeah,
Teoscar just like, get all the fastballs.
Yeah. My gosh. It's going to be fun to watch from the dugout.
It is going to be a freaking blast. Hey, last one I have. How's Gavin Lux doing? Dealing with obviously a little bit of the yips and moving positions and coming off of an injury where he was out for the entire season. We had him on, I think, maybe a month and a half ago when actually Ohtani was just starting to show up at the Dodger facility. But, he was so excited to be, back in the mix. And, it's been tough for him.
I mean, I feel like I've gotten to know Gavin. Obviously, I met him a little last year. He was, I think, in Arizona for the most part doing his rehab when I got traded over last year. And just as a person, I think he's great. Really got his head on his shoulder. Really cool, good person to talk to, and keep things pretty light. So I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to be great. Actually, just coming off of injury and having to just kind of get your feet wet again and just get back on, I think is kind of what he maybe not to the extent of maybe this is not what he expected, but it's spring training. You'd rather get this stuff out of the way now. So as far as regular season goes, I think he's just going to be just fine. Handled everything really well, everything they've thrown at him. So I think he's going to be great. Just moving to second, from everything I've heard, I think it's going to be fine over there. I haven't really got a chance to really see him play behind me or anything like that, but from the little things I've seen, it's been pretty good. So as far as the whole season goes, everything will be just good.
Well, we wish you luck on your long ass flight. Okay, do whatever the sleep specialist says, and have fun out there, dude. We're excited to watch.
All right, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Is the family coming, or is it just you?
Yeah, no, we're not. No family. Just me. That would have been a tough ask.
So then you get one of the nice first class sleeper. I know you say you don't know, but you're gonna get the nice sleeper, John. You're gonna get the nice. Yeah, you're living it up. Don't tell your wife all the nice stuff you're getting in that plane.
Yeah, well, she's at home with the two little ones. I'm sure she doesn't want to hear about nice first class kidless sleeps.
Little mimosas all day because you're gonna be flying all morning, so just be all day mimosas.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll end really well when we land.
Exactly.
Whatever. You're the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, get some rest. Yeah, enjoy it, man, and we'll see you out there in the series. All right. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan Yarbrough with us on FT. Yeah, that is a long flight, but that will be a well taken care of flight if we know how the Dodgers operate. All right, let's get right to in the weeds for a little more details on what the last week has been like for JD Davis. So, Trevor, we talked about this when it happened, and we touched on it a little bit yesterday, but then you get more details here, including the fact that most of his salary that he kind of won in an arbitration case is not going to be paid out. So it's like almost $6 million that he won't get, and it's a loophole, I guess some people call it, although it's obviously known. It's not like it was a secret. So they signed Chapman. JD spoke about how he didn't know what his situation was. No one called him about it. Obviously shows up to the team facility. They're like, we're trying to trade you. They don't trade him. He is placed on waivers, and he is going to be picked up by some team, but he is not going to get the $6.9 million full salary that he won in his arbitration case. And there's the story from Andrew Baggerly. So if you could say something to him, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could say something to him, I'm pissed off too, JD. that is really not a very good faith thing to do. I think that especially when it comes down to that he won his ARB case, it's just such a bad, how are we going to get out of this situation? And it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. That said, I'm not expecting anyone to hold on to a player, that the kid doesn't kind of fit on the team anymore. But there's a way to do right by the guy, because sometimes you just have to make a better decision, and just to try to get out of it as much as possible. Just seems like just sleazy and not a great look. Not a huge fan. He does get the severance. There's that, but at the end of the day, now, especially the timing, like we said, next week's the season starts. Where's their job? Where am I going to go now? You put me in a position to where my ability to make back that 5.8 that I'm missing it's going to be harder and harder and harder to do. Not that that's their concern, but I think that that's why they did this. So I going from kind of feeling good about winning your case, making a good case, showing your value, and then having it kind of all just crash down like this. And I play with JD. I know his type of like his attitude and his type of humor on these things. And I know it was a real big eye roll out of him. But I feel for him. He's a buddy of mine, and that just sucks. And I hope, but he's a guy can swing it, and guy's got an absolute cannon at third, so he's gonna get a job. It's just when at this point, and we've got enough guys holding out for contracts, man. Like the guys who are big leaguers, like let the big leaguers play.
Man, I guess hopefully the Cubs are still, their game's not over. Their proverbial offseason.
Their offseason game. Yeah,
they need a left. Yeah, they need a guy that can hit lefties. There's a couple lefties on Brewers. There's lefty pitchers that he could mash. There's a couple lefties in the freaking entire Reds rotation besides Montas and Green. Like, he might be a good fit there. I just hope he gets the extra $6 million. I hope, and I know nobody's bound to it. I know it's just like
no chance. Just seeing how this offseason operates, no chance. No
$6 million? $6 million for above average right-handed hitter, well above average.
Nothing, but it's they're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. Mm-mm.
Over under, I would say at 2.5 at this point in the offseason.
I was going to say $3 million
for guaranteed.
Maybe 2.5 with incentives, with like a $500 million incentive. It's happening too, man. Heavy incentives.
This is why you don't spend your money before you got it.
Well, I'm sure he knew. But here, let's show the next layer of this. So Bags with another tweet here. So JD Davis's agent, Matt Hannaford, disputes that the Giants negotiated in good faith. Quote, "In my 22 years in the business, I've never seen a club in arbitration make their one and only offer less than an hour before the exchange deadline." I think we're seeing a lot of, crap like this getting pulled off these days. The tactics have changed, but I don't know. I mean, we bring on quite a few players that have been pissed off about certain processes. Does that sound like good faith negotiating an hour before for a dude that you want? At that point, like if I'm the Giants, why are you even tendering a contract? Do you know what I'm saying?
And again, I knew nothing about arbitration, contract tendering. I was getting minor league offers. So to me, this doesn't seem right. Were they trying to work something out with Chapman during this time? And that's why they're like, crap, Chapman's not signing for what we think he should sign for. Let's make an offer.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened. I think that maybe they were counting on that, and it was like, but if you don't make an offer, then you just say you're non-tendered. And so they were like, I bet you it came down to it. And they're like, should we just like have this as a backup, and we'll throw it out there, and it's ARB. It's an absolute crapshoot. So maybe we'll win, right? Because they just, honestly, that whole thing's just made up case by case anyway. So, the chances that you don't even have an argument and you still win it when you're a team is high. And so might as well. The teams win the vast majority of them. They didn't, but they were probably banking on that. It was just kind of an insurance policy probably, but they were definitely probably searching. I mean, it's a hole, not a hole, but it's something that they knew there was options. The Matt Chapman could work, and that they could get it for cheaper, and all these things. It just fit kind of more into the narrative of is this off season. So that would make a lot of sense to me. It feels like the e-brake got pulled just like all in one day right before the deadline. And then they just gave the offer, and then they pulled the chute again, right before the season started, and just got rid of him, knowing that if we lose, it's okay. We can always just release him in this window, and we won't have to pay the whole thing anyways. And that just feels, there's just a lot of that. There's a lot of that. That's why things like the lockout were so important. And I was always very vocal. It's like this stuff. There's a lot of these little things that are snuck in, and things that they won't rear their head until a couple years in, but now we're seeing it's just the way it is. It's a business, and they're bringing in more business people at the top of the teams who are like, hey, here's ways to kind of skirt around some of this stuff, and you might as well take advantage of it until it gets addressed, because that's just kind of the way things work.
There's a lot of semantics that these teams that is their role to know this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, we won't get into all of it, but calling guys up to be able to make sure this guy's a B free agent instead of a C free agent because he was on the roster a certain amount. There's a lot of stuff like that.
It's corporate. It's just gotten so much more corporate. That's how it is. You're right. For everyone to know, lineup-wise, Jason Adam is going to join us soon, and then Ken Rosenthal after that. Strong day. But let's get to some Bet MGM futures. We're going to look at the MVP and the Rookie of the Year awards. So let's start with AL MVP, and there might be some hesitation at the top until we get further details on Mr. Judge, who is at plus 550. Soto at plus 600, and then you've got guys in four figures here. So Corey Seager and Julio Rodriguez at plus 1,000, Yordan Alvarez at plus 1,100, or obviously you can keep going lower down the board. But Kratz, you want to start off here where you'd be shifting your thoughts for a potential MVP pick?
This is my second double up. I doubled up on Yordan last year. It didn't work out because of injury, not because of play. I'm going Yordan, but because of Papelbon, I feel like he shifted the line. So I'm sure he put his $530,000 down on Julio, and then he'll end up blowing it on something else. But man, like I have a tough time going against Yordan Alvarez and what he does as the key. No matter what you think, I get it. Tucker is an unbelievable player. Tucker is going to steal more bases. He's going to play better defense. Yordan is the guy in the postseason, and they still can't pitch around him. He still gets the job done, and it's only more, exasperated during the season because they're not pitching around him as much. So maybe he benefits from Tucker hitting behind him, but either way, he is an absolute beast. That's my pick.
And Trevor, I'm a hard disagree always with Kratzy on this. I love Yordan Alvarez. Top 5 probably favorite hitter in baseball for me, maybe even top 3. But I just have a hard time seeing DHs win MVPs. They're playing well behind. There's literally stats that many of the voters go off of that ding a player for just being a DH. I know he's going to get some outfield time, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's tough with DHs. He spends a good amount of time out there, but with that injury too, they're going to really try to avoid that. So you don't be surprised if he's only hitting a lot more. He is special. Everything he hits is, a million miles an hour, and he's a very, very good hitter. But I'm going to be honest. I'm with Pap. I just think it's Julio's year. That might be homer me being a homer just suddenly. Or it might be the fact I think the Mariners added some really, really interesting, like solid pieces that I think he's gonna really be allowed to shine in a way that he wasn't with kind of the way the way the team was put together last year. So I just think it's primed for him just to be just the guy that is just hitting everybody in and doing all the crazy stuff. And he's a year older, so I think it's Julio though. I think Pap was right.
He's so young. I would say he's more a year newer. He's not a year older. He's not even hitting his prime yet.
Oh my God, man. What's happening? These guys don't get any. Only I'm getting older.
Yeah, stay the same age.
He's 23 this entire season. He doesn't turn 24 until the end of the year. December 29.
Yeah, I don't know. These guys.
Stop talking about it, guys. BetMGM is going to make that number go smaller. Stop talking about it.
I'm the same too. Just real quick. Second half, Julio Rodriguez is my pick. If you see that for a full season from what we saw last year, center field, if the Mariners are a playoff team, it's because he thrived, because they did a little, but they didn't do a ton. So anyway.
No All-Star game.
No All-Star game pressure. I think he just pressed a little in the first half of the season in general, coming off the year that he did before. So we'll see what happens. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the app of at least $5. You'll get $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. You download the app, sign up and deposit at least $5 into that new account. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price, and then you'll receive $150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. And also that first bet offer is on, including in the great state of North Carolina. Bonus code is FOUL for everything I'm talking about too, for the bet 5, get 150, and for the first bet offer up to $1,500. So they just went live in North Carolina yesterday. So make sure you check that out as well. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. So our next guest will join us hopefully in a minute or two. And I actually lined this one up on purpose. I'd been communicating with Ray's super reliever, Jason Adam, on lining up a day. And then I was like, oh, Trevor's coming on Tuesday. And I was listening to Trevor on Rates and Barrels, which is the fantasy pod with Saris and Derek Van Riper. And you were mentioning a story about Jason. I'm going to let you tell it actually because he's ready to go while we bring him on. So Jason Adam of the Rays joining us right now in the sunshine. Jason, how you doing, dude? And look who you got for you for his FT debut.
I mean, I'm great. I'm excited to see this debut in action.
Great to have you on. Appreciate the time. Yes. Trevor, would you like to add on to this introduction here?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for joining us, Jason. Appreciate it. Who knew back in, what was it, 2017 when we were in the training room in Florida with our broken elbows that we'd be here today.
Yeah.
How far we've come. I would like to actually, I'll ask you about that injury a little later because I need you to explain it to the people at home because you needed to explain it to me then. I can't really remember. But first things first, I did want to join, or I wanted to hit you with a little bit of the story. I don't know if you saw me say it on Rates and Barrels, but I made a lot of adjustments this year because I watched a lot of you pitching, and we were discussing an article that came out about the Rays catching and how their philosophy is to basically give guys one target and then just like let your pitches move off that. And I noticed it one day and I made a bunch of adjustments and how I approached getting ready for hitters. And I was also started to throw a sweeper. You also encouraged me to do that. I don't have yours, but I had the good one sometimes. And so is there first question for you? Is there some veracity to that statement? Is that something that you guys do on purpose in Tampa? Does a catcher set up in one spot and give you the same target for every pitch? That's
100%. It is. Yeah. I mean, now once you get to 0-2, might shade a little bit, but it is. Yeah, you're just setting right middle. Because I mean, that's why they acquire. I think that's why they acquire us. They go, all right, this guy's got good stuff. Walks too many guys. Let's just get it over the dish, and we're going to be ahead of guys. Strike one, strike two, and then, as you know, pitching's a lot easier when it's 0-2 than when it's 3-2.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that the Rays' success in, I don't know, the last 10 years has been a testament to that philosophy. And I also noticed, and this is another, a little bit in the weeds pitching question, but we have very similar arsenals. And I noticed the use of your changeup. And you use it a lot on sides. You're throwing it into righties a lot. You want it to run. You want it to fade.
Yes.
Is that something that you consciously are doing, playing off that movement?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it was kind of a testament coming to the Rays too. They're like, they basically said, I'm like, all right, they want to sign me. They're going to have some major overhaul. I'm going to be a new pitcher. And I'm waiting my first spring, and we're like a week and a half in. They've told me nothing. I'm like, so what do you got? They're like, oh, so our plan, we're going to set up in the same spot every pitch and throw each pitch a third of the time. Righties, lefties, doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, okay. But they're the Rays, and they have that pedigree. You're like, okay, it must work. And so starting to throw it to righties, getting that, almost using it like a back foot slider type of thing. That kind of changed the trajectory of my career.
Say so. I'd say trusting them has worked out pretty well so far, for sure. So I did notice that about you, and so when I started preparing for teams, I actually went to Shea Langoliers one day and I said, "Hey, you're going to give me one target," and he goes, "What? What?
Yes.
He's a young guy. He's a rookie." He's like, "I thought I had to go steal strikes all day." I'm like, "No, I want you to go right in front of your mask, right down the middle. Actually, we shade a little bit to the arm side so that I can.
Yes.
That's where I naturally throw." And then I noticed that about you, and I started using the changeup the same way. So, you've been throwing in all kinds of different roles too. Like you'll come in a little earlier in the games. You were throwing 8th inning. You were closing quite a bit when Fairbanks was down. Is that something, especially if your role is going to be a little different for a series? Is that something that the organization is communicating Cash and those guys communicating going into the series?
Yeah.
Are you pretty well aware of what your role might be if it changes?
Pretty much. Yeah. So my first full season with them, No, I mean, yes, they communicated, but it was also like I started out kind of the last man on the in the bullpen. So it was just, and then it was like slowly transitioning. So you always have a hunch when you're throwing. It's like, oh, it's a pocket of righties, or basically towards the end of that season, it was like, okay, if it's close and we're sitting at 2, 3, 4 in the lineup, this is probably my pocket here. And then last year we went with, for a while, more of a traditional 7th, 8th, 9th, with just Poche and I flip flop in lefty, if it was lefty heavy or righty heavy. So yeah, Cash does a great job communicating. He's, I mean, bullpen guys always complain. That's kind of part of the role. But I think he does a great job just saying, hey, what do you need from me so that you can have success all year? Their goal is for us to have success because it's good for, they want us to help us personally, but they also, if we're doing well, then the team's going to be doing well.
I sat there for probably about 6 weeks as a Ray, and I saw all the stuff that you were talking about. But give us you said Cash communicates well. Well, Cash isn't always talking to every one of the pitchers. What is that chain of command, and how does that go down? Because I know you have your reliever meetings, and it's a big dig me session. It's not whoa, this guy rakes. And the same things happen on the other side.
Yes.
The hitters are like, ooh, check out this dinger that Jason Adam gave up. Check out this one that Trevor May gave up. What's that chain of command and that process going into a series so you know where your pocket is?
I'd say most of it falls on Snyder. Snyder does a great job. He's the one. I mean, I love Snyder because he pitched, so he gets it. He gets that we want to know kind of our window where we're pitching, and he gets that we're human because he experienced it. And so, like, he's not like that old coach who's like, just throw it down, down and away, just hit that spot. He knows, like, that's harder than it sounds. But he's also brilliant. So he's got, like, the mind of, the stat nerds, for lack of a better phrase. So he's got both sides and he can play it, and he knows so he knows what we want as players, and he also knows how to make us better and set us up to succeed regardless of how the team wants to use us.
What's his most endearing trait? Snyder's a guy. You also, after you're done here, you got to give our producer Snyder's phone number so that I can text him to get him on the show, because his dry humor is what we need. His dry humor and his huge hands. He's got huge, weird hands.
Yeah,
but anyway,
massive.
What is the most endearing trait? You just mentioned he is an ex-player. You mentioned he is a stat nerd. You mentioned he is empathetic. What is his most endearing trait that you're like, he gets me?
Yeah. Oh man. Honestly, I think I don't know how to distill it into a trait, but he's incredible at just instilling confidence. So like some guys need to hear that their break values are elite, and that's going to give it confidence. And some guys just need to be like hear him yell, throw it from the dugout when you make a good pitch. And for me, what gave me the most confidence my first month with the Rays in 22, it was I was rolling, things were going well, and I kept being like, what's the adjustment? Like, what do I need to do? And he just kept saying, nothing. He didn't speak, he didn't start trying to make changes just to make changes. He was just like, nope, you're good. And hearing that almost gave me confidence, because it was like, okay, I guess it's really working, or he'd say something.
So have you caught him lying yet? Have you caught him? Because encouraging coaches have to be honest. And you'd be like, wait a minute. There's one time in my career. He
will fudge your numbers. Yeah. So he'll fudge your numbers on the track man in the bullpen. It's like we all make fun. We're like, I'm like, hey, how hard was that changeup? He's like, 89. And then you look back, it's like 86.1. You probably don't go that big, but he does. He rounds up pretty faithfully. But I like that. I think he should round up.
So he's the opposite of what you experienced in the minor leagues when you got traded over to the Royals, which I have to say, thank you for letting me play with Josh Willingham for a little bit in that trade. That was huge.
Yeah, you're welcome.
When we got second place. But in the minor leagues, now this might be a Trevor and you. I don't know if we can bring both you and Trevor on the screen at the same time.
We can.
Okay, once Gab can do that, I need both your reactions. Just a thumbs up or thumbs down. When you were in the bushes, did you ever pencil whip anybody? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes or no?
No.
I was Cal Snyder, man. I was always bumping.
Yeah, you pump them up because I wanted people to pump up for me.
Lefties throwing 88, they're throwing 91 that day.
If you're in the
That's
minor
all.
leagues
I
and you want to
remember.
make the big leagues, minor leaguers pencil whip, big leaguers don't pencil whip.
By the way, we used to write on paper charts. We used to had the gun and then write the numbers
So
down. That's
Scott,
why it's called pencil whipping for the kids.
You know what I'm talking about?
Forget me. There's 15,000 live
fans.
viewers right now. So can you help everyone out?
We have many thousands of we have tens of thousands more than the A's had to their Vegas game. But this is pencil whipping in the minor leagues. They used to chart. Now they probably don't do it anymore. They probably do iPad. But they used to chart every pitch in the stands if you're a starter. And there was players who were clearly, they were insecure. They felt like this was how they were going to make it to the big leagues. And they would write down, Jason Adam hits 98 on this fastball. They would write down 97. They would write down 96. And they was they know it. They go back. Now, obviously, you can't lie. But before, a guy was holding the radar gun or propping it somehow up in Dunedin at the Florida State League game when they're roasting, and it's sitting there, and they maybe get one pitch, and they would just write the rest down, and so it's all lower. So then when it gets handed in, pitching coach looks at it and is like, his velocity's not quite as good. Oh, yeah. Ismael Ramirez. Yeah. That was my top pencil whipper.
Wow.
You're going to drop his name for everybody. Wow.
Just throwing him out there. Wow.
Well, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
I think he's done playing too, right?
Oh, he was done. I'm telling you,
okay.
you don't make if you're a pencil whipper, you don't make the big leagues. That is a 99% scouting rate.
I don't know a single one. Every single one I remember, they didn't make it.
That's true.
So it makes
Wow.
sense. It makes sense.
I knew nothing about this.
I
went
back.
off on a tangent. Sorry.
No, this was good. I did not know about this. This is part of what we get from a show like this. This is actually good timing, maybe, to take us to Trevor May's epic elbow question. So,
yeah,
Trevor.
I gotta know, man. Okay, so one day I had Tommy John surgery in 2017. I am in the off season between 17 and 18. I am down in Florida, and Jason is also with the Twins at the time and has his own injury. And I didn't know about this until you walked in one day, and I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" So you had the elbow contusion. Can you please explain to me again what exactly happened there? You got Tommy John because of that, correct?
No, I had a stress fracture initially.
Okay.
So I was hurt in the fall. I got traded that end of 14, and I felt like a pop in my elbow, like my very first outing. Traded over, and it was fine. So I kept pitching, and it ended up being a stress fracture. But I went and got surgery on it, and they put 2 screws in, just kind of like coming across the elbow. And they're like, yeah, it'll be fine, 2 months, no problem. And they didn't even make me come into rehab. And I was like, oh, okay. I call them like a month later. I'm like, I still can't move my arm, and it's killing me. And so they're like, well, we'll look at it when we get here. I get there. I mean, this is when you saw it. It looked like I had like a lacrosse. Like people joked I was smuggling lacrosse balls out of the training room in my elbow. It was, I don't know, it was the bursa that's like in your elbow to lube it up, I guess, blew up to the size of like a lacrosse ball. And the screws, when they went in there to fix it, they were just like floating loose in the holes. So I ended up having to have 4 surgeries on it. It was a process, but yeah, it was gross. And then when I would like twist my hand, you could hear it across the room. It would go. It was awful.
You did. I was like, what is going on? This is awful. I'm like, how is this gonna get? And you were just like, kind of like, yeah, we'll figure it out. I was like, yes, you will, and you did.
We did. Just took some time. Took a bit of time.
Yeah.
Tremendous piece to be able to just be able to know that your elbow is creaking. Oh yeah, and I'm going to throw 1 billion miles an hour and a wicked slider out of it. Maybe that's what you got out of it. We were talking about before.
I think. Yes. Yeah. Because this is as straight as she goes now. So that's
how you
everybody,
throw.
everybody
helps this.
That's how you
everybody
get
who's on the
25
pod
inches.
needs to look at that. Everyone who's on the pod needs to check out YouTube. Please do it one more time for us again.
That's as straight
If
as
you
his arm.
think
There we
there's
go.
nothing to do,
Yeah.
that's a straight arm from your reliever of the year for the Rays.
Disgusting.
Was Trevor, did he big league you while you were rehabbing? Because he was on big league rehab, you were on
No.
minor league rehab.
He was. No, he was.
Okay.
He was nice enough though. Yeah, I mean, just to take a. You had to let me know you were above me. No,
Yeah,
but you were awesome.
It's part of it.
No.
You're Tommy John in the big leagues, man. You're the only big leaguer there. You got to be like, what's up?
It's a
You're
nerd.
a service comedy team have to do anything.
So this is his first day on the show. So we got to know what we're getting here. Like, are we getting? What was he a jerk big leaguer, or was he like just strutting and like just kind of what I call front of the line big leaguer? Like, oh, you guys are waiting. I need to make sure I get my stuff done.
No, well, honestly, we were in. For the most part, they kept us plebes separate and went in a separate room. So Trevor would come in. Come in to get like needled with Corey. I feel like, but yeah, Corey would definitely take care of Trevor and the big league guys first.
Yeah, he
That's
just
what-
dropped what he was doing. Yeah, and like I'm on the
Yeah, he
table,
just-
stop and just not say anything. Come over to my table. It's just how it works. I mean, you got to take
On
advantage
my
of it.
arm,
and get it.
yeah. That's why my arm never got straight.
And now he's
Yep.
big leaguing people. It's fine.
Hey, this I feel like we can go here, even though this could be a sensitive subject. You did lose your ARB case.
Yeah, 1 for 2. I did tell our president. I said we have to go next year because to find out who the ultimate champion is.
Yes.
Did they use the arm against you? Were they like
Straight.
he can't even put his arm straight? It's like crooked. It helps him with his
Look
smoking.
at it.
I wore a baggy suit to hide it. Yeah.
I love that though. You can kind of have fun with it, and with the front office staff being like, "Yo, this has been great. You've helped me a ton.
Yeah.
Let's go battle for a couple hours."
Let's go fight. Yeah, let's hear how bad you think I am. Honestly, I don't. The ARB system is wild. The Rays do a good job with it. They do a great job with it. They don't make it. I've heard horror stories with some teams, but they do a good job. And it's at the end of the day, it's a pretty awesome job, and we're making more money than people would dream of. So, not much to complain about.
No doubt, but it's all relative. You don't have a straight arm because of this money. You put a lot out there.
Yeah.
What was the most hurtful thing that they did say? Because we've had guys on here that like AJ talks about it all the time. AJ Przinsky's normally our better host than Trevor. So, we have, or maybe Trevor's going to take. We'll see. So far he's doing pretty good. But what's the most hurtful thing that they said to you? That you were like, ow, that kind of hurt.
Yeah, I joke. So this year, my leverage index was pretty bad this year, which is just the nature of like a lot of my holds. We went with the more traditional, so a lot of my holds we had 2-run leads, 3-run leads, and so the leverage index just was kind of crushed. And so the whole trial, they didn't refer to me by name; they just referred to me over and over as a low leverage reliever. And I was like, man, that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit, but it was the right move for them. Obviously, they won, so it worked.
Wow, that is a little hurtful. You should be like, hey, when they call down in the 9th inning, you should answer the phone one time before he gets on the phone and be like, I'm actually more of an 8th inning guy. I mean, this is from Neander. Neander said I'm more of like a 4th or 5th guy when nobody's on. I like clean innings early in the game.
I'm mop up. Yeah, I'm just here to mop up.
Hey, Corbin Burns, to cheer you up, Corbin Burns was told he lost his arbitration, and he was told during the arbitration that the reason they didn't make the playoffs was because of 3 bad starts that he had in August. So there's that.
That's so bad. And that's the horror stories you talk about. I'm like, gosh, they did. I mean, teams make it very personal. The Rays, I do want to be on record. They do a great job. I mean, who knows? If I go next year, maybe they'll really bury me again. But no, they're awesome.
I'm coming in there to help bury you.
I want to record it. I want to stream it. It would be so good, especially
That'd
if
be good. That would
right?
be good TV.
It would.
Yeah.
That's a dream of mine. We'll get there at some point. All right. Let's finish strong here. You got one? I have one more. Best part of camp so far.
Oh, best part of camp. I think my highlight every day is playing catch with the football with the guys. And honestly, the best part about the race camp is it's 12:40, and I've been done for like an hour. So pretty short days, pretty easy days, lots of family time. It's a good gig.
Easy. Well, for low leverage relievers, I'm sure that's what an easy day is.
There's no stress.
Are you up to 2 or 3 kids now?
4.
Golly,
4 of them. I know.
I can't wrap my head around that. Can't even do it.
I can't either.
Bravo.
Good for you. You are
All girls, which is why I fight for every dollar in ARB.
Yeah.
I've got some weddings, so I'm like
4 weddings. Your wife is planning them already. They're going to be perfect and proper.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, I will gladly have them elope.
Right, that's what you'll tell them.
Destination
fall
wedding.
in love. Just run away, come back, and let me know.
Yep.
Run away. Yep.
Well, I will say this: you look well rested. The hair's tight. The suntan's very Florida. So keep doing your thing, Jason.
Right here. I will appreciate it.
Great having you on. Thanks for jumping on for Trevor's debut. And yeah, we'll get you at some point during the season too. All right.
For sure. I appreciate it. Trevor, you were fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Well, don't
Appreciate
fill
it,
them
man.
up.
Good seeing you. Good.
Thanks, Jason. Talk to you soon, man.
Yeah. Good seeing y'all. Thanks, guys.
You too. And Trevor, technically, do you feel like you owe him a dinner, a drink, something? Because you definitely, you were watching what he was doing, and it literally led to better results for you last year at one point, right?
I had probably the best half of a season I've ever had with the philosophy, but it turns out the Rays kind of told him to do it, so maybe I owe them.
No,
maybe I know Kyle at least, but no, yeah, definitely, it was watching him, and then I think there were some other guys that I kind of shared this information with that made some adjustments too. So like Fujinami started to use the one target, and his walk rate went way down too. I won't take all the credit, but I kind of told him to do that. So I can't wait to see what he does this year. And if you throw 103, all you have to do is throw it in the strike zone anywhere, and you'll be okay. It's weird how that works.
103.
Alvarado. Remember? Didn't he go to the Phillies and they were like, right here. Every time.
Well, they tried to do that. They tried to do that with the Rays too.
And maybe
I caught it.
What happened?
I caught him with the Rays, and he did well.
Yeah.
It just moves everywhere. I called 4 fastballs in one at bat. One went straight down like a splitter at 99. One cut at 99. One went straight like late life, and another one sink. All 4 were balls. Maybe I didn't do a good job of catching them, but I was like, oh, get someone else out here.
Yeah. Thank God only 4 pitches. Yeah. He's nasty.
The Phillies really delved into making sure he throws that cutter slider. It's actually a cutter, but it's moving like a slider now. So they set up all inside, and he just buries that thing. It's a good joke.
He is fun to watch. Let's get to our next guest on FT Live. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, joining us right now. Ken, where are you at? Oh, I was going to ask on your spring training tour, but the Marlins are giving it away. How is fish camp?
I'd like to announce that Sandy Alcantara is on the way back. This is the press conference room. That's why I'm acting like that. Fish camp's fine. They're as enthusiastic as they can be, and obviously Trevor knows this, Erik knows this. Every team is happy at this time of year. No one's lost a game. Everyone's optimistic. This team, to me, needed to spend more money this offseason, needed to do more than just sign Tim Anderson. They didn't do that. They're coming off a playoff appearance. They were a team that needed to be supplemented so they can continue the momentum. Maybe they will, but they've had some injury issues come up, and we'll just see how it goes.
Now you said that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but you're in that camp right now. Like,
yeah.
I know there's nobody more optimistic and positive than Skip Schumacher, but he's also honest. What kind of talks did you have with Skip?
Skip is going to be optimistic, as you know. That's his personality. But he knows, too, that they're in a tough division with the Phillies and the Braves for sure. The Mets perhaps taking a step back. Nationals still building, but getting better. And he knows there's a challenge ahead. And let's face it, no manager after an offseason like the one they had is going to sit here and tell me, man, we totally punted. We stunk. No, that's not the way they're going to look at it. They're going to look at what they have here, right? And try to build with what is a pretty talented core. Tim Anderson is here. That's one thing they're happy about. They're high on him. They feel that he's going to have a big bounce back season. I spoke with Tim this morning. He's very optimistic, and that's something to watch for sure. Because that guy, when he is right, is one of the more dynamic players in the game. We saw it last year in the WBC. He gets hurt early in the season, his knee, and it was never the same. So that's something definitely to watch, but I worry about the power now that Solera's gone and just what the offense is going to be.
Have you heard any rumors there or talked to anybody that kind of explained why the offseason went the way it did? Was this the plan to spend $5 million the whole offseason?
Well, I wrote about this, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago, a month ago, Eric, and the plan was, under the new general manager, Peter Bendix, to fix the infrastructure, farm system, international scouting, amateur scouting, everything that goes into building an organization. And that's where they put their resources this offseason. And he came in with that mission. That's why he was hired. We want you to upgrade our infrastructure and get us on the right path. My contention in what I wrote, and even now, is why can't you do two things at once? Why can't you fix the infrastructure and help the major league team? And that's where there is a divide, and it's certainly a path they've taken, and maybe it serves them well in the long term. It's the best way for them to go rather than maybe do some short-term deals that aren't going to benefit them that greatly. But again, they're coming off a playoff appearance, and that's where I have a problem with it. You're coming off a playoff appearance. You have some momentum in a market where you've struggled, honestly. And here you have the chance to captivate your fans and keep them engaged. I don't know that they did enough to do that.
A team that needs to maybe understand what happens from an MRI. Have you heard anything about Cole's MRI? Anything that is like any new news in that? Or is this a camp thing that is just hanging over the Yankees right now?
No new news, and you heard Aaron Boone say yesterday it's going to be a couple of days. Certainly it hangs over the Yankees right now. And with Judge having his issue, that's another thing that they're dealing with that is not great. And I don't have to tell you guys, anytime you go for an MRI, it's a concern. Period. It's a concern. Now, maybe it turns out he's okay and misses a little time or maybe no time at all, but at the same time, there's a reason why they sent him for the MRI, because he wasn't bouncing back from relatively short appearances the way he wanted to. That, to me, is a concern. That said, Gerrit Cole's been one of the healthiest aces in the game for a long time. I don't believe he's ever been on the injured list for an arm injury. So that history gives you some encouragement, but you never know with pitchers, and it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, it's something, especially when with guys who've pitched this long, this many innings. This is going to happen eventually. Chris Sale did the same thing for like 8 or 9 years, and then sometimes you just need to take care of some stuff. Question in the same division, and I think this is some of the most positive news the baseball world got this spring is Joey Votto signing with Canada's team. Joey is now a Blue Jay. Have you heard anything on his chances of making this team and what kind of role he could play for them? Because it's Joey Votto. Having Joey Votto in a clubhouse at all is, I think, positive. Have you heard anything on that side of things?
Trevor, first of all, welcome. It's great that you're here with us now. I'm really excited about it. His chances, I would imagine, are okay. Not necessarily for opening day, but going forward. Now, Daniel Vogelbach is in their camp. He is certainly the equivalent of Votto in terms of the position, the left-handed DH. Will he hold that job the whole year? I don't know. And maybe if he struggles and Joey gets hot in the minors, then they turn it over and they take a chance, or not take a chance, but bring Joey Votto to the major leagues. But he has said quite openly he expects to start in the minors, and I would think that's what's going to happen. It's not a lot of time to get ready for opening day, but he's been working out, of course. And if he can get things going again, remember, he's had a difficult time the last 2 years coming off a shoulder surgery. If he can find himself again, and he thinks he can, that's kind of a key for me here. He believes that he is not done. Then you might see a situation where he is on that roster at some point. Who knows what might happen? What if there's an injury? All kinds of things can happen. But this is not a publicity stunt. This is for real. And again, the thing that stands out to me is he didn't want to be told he was done by the game. He wants to go out and see whether he's done and determine it that way. Now, it might be that the Jays end up saying, Joey, it's not happening, and I think he'll know it at that point. But he feels there's more in there, and that's why this is happening.
You had said on fair territory that he would maybe go to Buffalo, and you kind of insinuated that right now. Is there a chance he doesn't go to Buffalo and goes to maybe, say, stays at the complex there in Florida because of how freaking freezing it is in April? There's one thing I know, and it's minor league stadiums in April, and they stink. So is there a chance he stays in Florida, or does the team really want him to see that AAA pitching?
I can't say I know the answer for sure, Erik. I have not heard that, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense. They play in Syracuse, right? Or is it Buffalo?
No, they're in Buffalo now. Yeah.
Oh, they're Buffalo. Well, neither's great, right? And the International League in general has a lot of cold weather in April. That said, at some point in the Major League season, April is not a great month either in many places. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I would expect he would want the best competition he can face until he gets to the point where he's on the verge, perhaps of returning to the major leagues. But I don't know. And Erik, actually, that's a question I should ask because it's a good one.
Hey, Ken, question for you about where we're at in the season. Of course, we've talked a ton about, those two big names. Well, I tried to go a show without saying them, but we already said them earlier.
Yeah, you did.
In Monty and
maybe tomorrow.
Blake Snell. So maybe tomorrow I'll try again. But I actually am also noticing there haven't been a ton of extensions. I don't, have an exact stat to it, but I don't know if you feel like we've been a little bit light on that front as well. Often we get to a point right now and we're close to the season starting where players show up to camp, they're excited. Oh, I want to be here long term, and conversations go down. Brian Bayo was the big one that was announced in the Dominican Republic series last weekend. But other than that, maybe one or two others,
Wheeler.
Not a ton. Wheeler, right, got done, but
Colt Keith
was more in the winter. Okay, so thank you, Kratz. But 3, not 10.
No, yeah, not the whole Braves.
It's a good question, Scott. And granted, we have a good amount of time before opening day still. So I would expect that there will be more extensions. There generally always are. And as we get closer to opening day, that sometimes drives the momentum because agents, players, teams want these things resolved before the season gets started. But you're right. To this point, there haven't been maybe the usual number. I don't track them by date that way. But you're right. It seems light at this point.
I would be remiss if I didn't do my Twins fans a service here and ask a Twins question. You recently wrote an article about Chris Paddock. I can do that now, which is nice.
Whatever you want, Trevor.
Yeah, you wrote an article about Chris Paddock. One of the things that I've been looking at with the team is just kind of where is the starting pitching depth after Pablo Lopez. He looks like he's going to be one of those things, and you wrote a great article about it. Check it out on The Athletic, guys, if you haven't yet. But where do the Twins see Paddock fitting in this year, and what kind of workload do you anticipate that being? Because he still hasn't thrown many innings here in the last couple of years.
Right, and in a perfect world, he kind of becomes their number 2 starter. Now they've lost Maeda, they've lost Sonny Gray, so there are holes in that rotation. They've still got Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, some younger pitchers as well that they're high on. But they sort of need Paddock to step up. Now, the question you raised about workload is sort of the big one. Let's say he's really good, and this is the optimal scenario, that you get the Chris Paddock of 2019, the kid who showed up in San Diego and kind of captivated baseball for a time. Okay, that's great. But how many innings can he go? He's only thrown about 40 combined the last 2 years with the Tommy John surgery, hybrid surgery in between. So he knows, the Twins know that chances are he's not going 180. He might not go 160. He might not even go 140. But the way it was described to me and the way I wrote it is that they're going to kind of play it by ear, see how he's progressing. One thing he has in his favor, he built up all last season, of course, became that guy in the playoffs who was really good against Houston in relief. And they feel that he has a bit of a foundation under him. Now, it's not going to translate to 200 innings, as I just said, but can they get him to, I'm just picking a number out of thin air, 120, and then have him available for the playoffs? That would be their ideal, I would think, something along those lines. And we'll just have to see how it goes, how he pitches, how he bounces back, all of the things that go into it when you have a pitcher who has had a second major elbow reconstruction and needs to be handled with care.
By the way, we will be at Twins camp on Thursday, so we'll bring some of those players on. I actually requested Chris Paddock, interviewed him many times in the past. He's a really good interview. Usually is dressed in like something fun, cowboy hat. Like he's got a look, Ken. Like you show up, you're like, Chris Paddock's here. So we'll try and make that happen.
Pitches in the regular season. I don't know if he's doing this in spring training. It's a suit, it's a cowboy hat, it's cowboy boots. And he's told me he's representing his state of Texas. And he is one of these guys that we need more of. He's got a refreshing personality. And he is someone who embraces the moment, kind of likes the whole scene. And again, in 2019, he was a lot of fun. And I expect that if he's good again, we're going to see the same kind of thing.
Spot on. Perfect for an FT interview. So hopefully we'll line that up on Thursday with Twins PR. Okay, let's finish with one fan question here in the super chat from Daniel. He said he loved your article on the Pirates. A lot of their position players have potential. How much of it is on the organization versus luck for them developing?
Oh, I would say it's mostly on the organization. Now, you have some bad luck, of course, but while that article was mostly, I would say, negative about the Pirates situation, and particularly ownership and their inability or kind of refusal to spend in free agency, we did go into player development and how they haven't really succeeded in the way that, say, the Orioles have, drafting high. Now, Ben Cherington, their general manager, made the point to me when we were putting that article together that he still believes they have a number of players they've drafted during his tenure that are going to surface in the major leaguers and be quality contributors. And so far this spring, it's been pretty encouraging. Skeens was great when he was up. They sent him down, but that's to be expected. Henry Davis has had a big spring. And O'Neal Cruz is back now, and he's playing well. So you can start to see some things coming together, perhaps, but a lot is going to have to come together for them. And I'm interested to see how they play this year, but in a division that really is there for the taking, if you go about it the right way, they have not been that team thus far. So it's time. It's Sherrington's 5th season coming up, and they need to take another step forward. Their owner, Bob Nutting, has said as much, that they are in position now, they believe, to become a contending team in the NL Central. I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. And for me, the luck is that somehow money is found to spend on free agents. I mean, I know we went over it a lot in the past, but their free agent history numbers are beyond embarrassing. I mean, they're crazy. You can't expect to have a consistent winner or even a winner period when you're rebuilding, tanking, all that. And then you get to the point where you're finally ready and you're like, oh, but we don't believe in free agency. That is mind-blowing to me.
Just to let people know what you're referring to, Scott, they have signed players to extensions, from McCutchen to Brian Reynolds. They've done that. They didn't do it with McCutchen the second time, of course. They traded him. But in free agency, the biggest contract they've ever given to a free agent from outside the organization, not a guy that they already had, from outside the organization, Russell Martin, 2 years, $17 million, and that was about a decade ago. That is what you're talking about, Scott. That is embarrassing. I'm sorry. And you've got to do better than that.
Yeah, I can't get over that stat. That is crazy. Look
That's
at
so
Trevor's
funny.
reaction.
He had no
I've
idea
never heard that before. That is
Yeah.
incredible.
until
Wow.
Ke'Bryan Hayes got paid $10 million in the first year of his contract. Nobody had made more than $10 million from the Pirates. Everybody just knew you were going to get traded as soon as your extension. Like Kutch is like, well, I can see the writing on the wall. I'm about to make more than $10 million, so he gone.
Now they've
Wow.
done some things this offseason. They signed Chapman for 10.5. They signed Martin Perez, Yasmani Grandal. They've brought in some pieces. Now, are they playing at the top of the market? No, they are not. And that is essentially why they've been who they've been the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good stuff. Thanks for answering the fan queue, and we will see you later this week.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Also, Fair Territory is out there for the world, released in the past 24 hours. If you want to watch it on FT YouTube channel, wherever you get your pods. And we might have a special announcement regarding Ken and Fair Territory. That's all I'm going to say. So just keep an eye out on that. For those of you that guess accurately on things, good luck on this one. I do see all of the replies. And just one more hint, if you are correct on whatever your guess is, I don't tell you you're correct because that would ruin the surprise. So I didn't respond to anyone that said Trevor May is going to be the new.
You can follow me on Twitter.
host.
If you don't follow me on Twitter now, you can follow me on Twitter, and I may respond.
Kratz is like, I can't lie. Let's slap hands.
What are the fingers there? I just noticed that today.
Oh, and slap hands?
Yeah, the Michelangelo. Well, that's slapping fingers.
You want to change? You want to tweak?
I don't know. I mean, I got to bring that up with D.
Okay. It's a post-show meeting thing. What do you got for Kratz hats? And Trevor, every day, I don't know if you're aware here, Kratz has a different hat, and you have to grade that hat. So he has like 500.
It's not like 500, but it's definitely more than there are fans in
the Raniers, the Tacoma Rainiers. That's a solid hat. I love that hat. I love the R. Rainier
such a homer.
It's such a staple here. It's the PBR of Seattle, which we also have PBR. But old Ranier is in every fridge up here. It is our cheap bottom shelf beer, and we love it.
Wait, flip it back, and if you Google original Red Robin logo, the restaurant, it's very similar. Look at that.
And bottomless fries. Beer and bottomless fries. That's what it represents.
That's what this hat represents. Bottomless fries?
Yeah.
Let's
go.
I will eat all the
great
potatoes.
Hats. It is. So grade it. I'm going B+. I love the black and red combo.
He's easily swayed.
Classic logo.
He was swayed.
You were going to go lower until I just gassed it
up.
up.
Until you blew it up. Yep.
I was going to go B+. So my reaction's a B+, and your reaction's a B+. I think, come on. I'll give it a B. I'm not even going to give it an A.
Best friends?
I wasn't giving it an A from me. Wait till you see an A.
Wow.
You can't just give out A's unless you're the Russian judge in figure skating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't do that. Yeah,
exactly. All right, and then let's do one serious shout out here. A get well soon for Darryl Strawberry, who's in the hospital there and recovering from a heart attack. I know the Mets sent out some statements, kind of just giving him well wishes. I've interviewed Darryl actually in the recent past multiple times, and he's an inspirational speaker. He is incredible. Obviously, has given a lot to his community and continuing to do so, and just a great dude. So get well soon, Darryl. We are obviously rooting for you to get out of there as quick as possible and be back on your feet. Legend.
Yeah, no doubt. Legend. Great speaker too. Obviously his story is epic. And so to overcome a heart attack or, continue to recover from a heart attack too, adds on to the story of all the things that he went through from high school all the way till yesterday having a heart attack. So it's great to hear that he's on the mend.
Yep. And yeah, lastly, Trevor, you made it. How was your first experience here? We had enough guests for you? Enough guests.
Great guests. I love talking to the guys. That's something that I thought I was going to miss a lot, and I was right. So it was great to talk to some of the guys down there. And the internet held up, and the camera didn't die, and the mic stayed on. So we did it. I'd call it a thumbs up for today.
Yeah, you look crystal clear. Yeah, you look crystal clear. The audio is immaculate. So awesome having you on the team again, dude. We're excited to have you as part of the FT fam and to be able to do this and just shoot the shit. All right.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for tuning in, and for anyone that is bragging right now that they guessed correctly, but they probably heard it on like Twitch or the FT Fans Fest show or something like that. But still, you're a winner in our book. And Trevor, we'll see you when we see you. We'll see you next time. All right.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you. See you everyone. Same time tomorrow. Later.